Well, welcome to another episode of The Pioneer and the Futurist. A conversation we invite you to join, a conversation to create the future. And today, episode 18th, if I counted correct, of season 2. And today I speak with my good friend, Grant Phypers, a pioneer. And my
Oh,
name is Arjan Visser, the futurist in this, well, not just this dialogue we have, but we really invite everyone listening to us live, join, ask questions, use the social media channels to interact with us. And even if you watch afterwards or listen to podcasts, just find a way to communicate with us, because it's
yeah,
not just
absolutely.
our opinion. It's really, we want to hear your opinion. And Grant, welcome. Nearly
Thank you,
the end
mate.
of the summer.
Yeah. Well,
It,
I'm hoping for an Indian summer over here, so
yeah.
it's the weather's a lot better. So I'm hoping it will stretch into late September. Sometimes it does that in the UK. So, but it's been a while since our last foray onto Facebook and onto LinkedIn or the various other social media platforms that you've got to talk about a really interesting subject that's close to our heart, and that's the future and also breaking new ground.
Yeah, exactly. And during my summer break, actually, I'm just back and trying to get back. So it was a really good break. One of the things that really resonated when we spoke earlier this week was that it's not just a time of reflection, standing still, but actually it's a time of pruning to prepare ourselves for this next episode, this, what we as a future people tend to talk about, the next version of ourselves, not just the better version. Don't not talk about fixing, but like the next version. And then sometimes you just have to prune, which is a very nice abstract word, but it's so painful and so hard to really take off the whole branch if it needs to go off, and not just a few leaves.
Yeah.
And so, what were your thoughts about pruning and the painful process as a pioneer?
Well, I love the expression that someone or the term that someone said recently that I hadn't really thought of it. That the 1st of September was like the beginning of a new year for many people, and you go through that period leading up to summer. Summer gives you an opportunity to reflect, to rest, to refresh, to look back over past months because most of us go on holiday in the summer, and it's a time to kick off our shoes and just sit back and ponder what's gone on. And this person who spoke about the beginning of the year for them being the 1st September, where schools go back, new things start. There's a new start to a season. Autumn comes and things change. The color of the leaves change. Flowers die, and things move on for preparation for the old to go and the new to come next spring. And that really sort of impacted me. And personally, leading up to August, I had been doing an awful lot of different things for the line leadership for the other business that I run, and I had got a bit lost with regards to the direction, what it was meant to achieve, and I really didn't have a focus or a niche in regards to the business. And I got so consumed with it being focused on the corporate side and the business world that having a brutal conversation with this brand agency a few months ago really led me to believe, well, it led me to that point that I need to focus on one thing. I need to be known for one thing. I need to have that niche, that focus that I can pour my time into, that I'm actually, we use the word sometimes called to do, but that is what I'm passionate about. And I've only just really discovered it after, I suppose, sidelining it, pushing it aside for a long time. And that's working with young leaders, young adults, working with the future generation of leaders, developing leaders for tomorrow's leaders for today. And it was really brutal. And I knew that that was my focus. And after 2.5 years of trying to run away from that, I brought myself to that point of, right, I need to cut loose everything that I'm doing. I need to streamline everything that I'm doing. I need to focus on this. I went in, I was rather brutal on my website. I took a lot of stuff out. I closed some pages that were irrelevant. I changed the wording, and I've had to walk away from a few things that I know that aren't leading me into the right direction. Yeah, they might earn me some money for the line leadership, which is the business that I run on the side of the insurance side of things, which is my real passion about developing leaders. But I knew it had to be done. And it was quite painful to sit there and chop the website and remove all the stuff that I'd spent ages putting on.
Mm.
The words that I used, the language that I used in it, and it was all geared, but it wasn't geared to anything, because I'd focused on so many different things, doing so many things, and being known for nothing. And that was brutal. But I know it's going to reap fruit. It's already starting to open up doors that the opportunities wouldn't have been there if I'd kept going down the road, or several roads that I was on leading up to that point. So I know that aspect of cutting back and removing the stuff that's dead, removing the stuff that's not producing life. And that can be painful to walk away from that, especially when you've invested time, love, sweat, passion, energy, when you've written about it, when you've built your business to that point, but actually you've not seen the rewards for that. And it's like walking away from something that you're very passionate about, but actually a relationship maybe that isn't bringing rewards, isn't giving you, they're not celebrating you, they're not empowering you, they're bringing you down, and it's unhealthy, and you've got to let that go. And there's lots of aspects, isn't there, about pruning, about removing stuff, removing the dead leaves, removing the dead bits from your life, the areas where it isn't producing the good things. And so that's where I am personally leading up to this point. But I know that from the beginning of September, I know that moving into this new season for me is going to bring the rewards. But it is hard to let go, isn't it? It's really hard sometimes.
Yeah, well, actually, you give a very vulnerable and inclusive perspective of this journey, and a couple of things that stand out for me is that if you and I borrowed this from one of our other people that is part of this series, Ryan. He tend to say, like, the more clarity I get, the more distracted I feel.
Yeah.
And when he said that way back, it triggered me. Like, I have this top 5 things that are my main thing, and actually I find it hard to make that list smaller, but the number 1 is where I get the most clarity, and then the number 2 to 5 are actually become distraction. So not my side things, not the tax reports, the administration is the distraction. No, it's the other things that actually, if I'm really honest, it's more fear than faith to keep them alive. Like, there's some money coming in, or I'm actually quite good at it, and I don't want to burn bridges. And we all know those things, and I tend to say, and those that have been in the challenges that we run, know that I always make a fool of our ego. And our ego is nothing bad. Like, many people out there say your ego is your enemy, and I say that's really nonsense. Your ego is that part of you that is the part of the wisdom part that knows your successes from the past and wants to promote them from you, from repeating those things, so you gain the same success again.
Yeah, it's a
Which,
barometer, isn't it?
it's brilliant if you are ending up in a setting that you've been before.
Yeah.
But when you are in a new setting and it's novelty, it's emerging, it's not how you say, it's not predictable, then your ego is distracting you because it's promoting something that is important but not relevant. And then you have to shift, and when you say, like, cutting off, metaphorically, the dead leaves, the dead branches, we know when you prune that you have to take a lot more off. So probably you have to stop doing things that are really good and you benefit from them, but they're not the one thing that you are called to do. they're not the one thing that is the right thing why you are born for such a thing. And then it's really hard to stop those things, but you only have a limited set of heartbeats. And it's from an IT practice, but I use it actually in executive coaching as well. And actually, I have to do it myself as well. I create 3 boxes. One is called the past, one is called the present, and one is called the future. And all the things that are, oh, we are losing Grant. I hope he comes back soon. Or I'm lost. That could also be. So just finding out through text who is missing out on the moment. But going back to those 3 boxes, it was not me. This time it was not me.
We swapped.
Yeah, we swapped. Yeah, I can try to swap us back.
No, don't. That's
But
fine.
people know that who you are. Welcome back to the show.
Yeah,
And
sorry about that. That was weird.
yeah, that was weird. Last time it was me, so I was like, do I continue the conversation? And then afterwards finding out it's not part of the recording. But I was just going back to those 3 boxes, like that box of the past. Actually, I think that's the big box. And those who have been going through this journey, dividing all the things you do over the past, the present, and the future, know that the next step is that you say, forget the past, manage the present, and create the future. And by forgetting things from the past, you create the time, the resources, the energy, the focus to start creating your future. And it's never of like, stop doing things in the now. No, they need to continue. But most of our time is occupied by keeping things alive. Maybe we got a reward. Maybe it's our resume. Our resume is an excellent list in most cases of what we did in the past and
Yeah.
probably don't want to do again. But it brings me to this point, not to confuse this doing the one thing you're called to with what we see in the US when we talk about destiny and all those things. Now, I'm saying, like, if you are doing multiple things and you know that those skills are yours,
Yep.
then don't get us wrong that we say pick one and stop doing the other things. Now, it's a bit more complicated. And I would say, like, my skills I developed in a certain setting, a context, a place, a location, a job, a project, school, an education, all those settings. In that setting, I acquired a skill. Please keep the skill, but disconnect it from the format you have learned and applied it. It sounds a bit abstract, but it is like I've learned to do something really well, and I've always done it at a bank. Then get the context of I always did it at the bank away and just keep your skill. And trust that all those skills bring you in the future in a new setting, in a new structure, in a new format, which is unpredictable because the way they work together to serve you is a unique way that only fits you and your future, which is something that you cannot design up front. Some people say, does it happen to me? Yes and no. Actually, because you're focusing on what you want to do, you feel you're called to do, you're drawn to, you start creating with everything you have and the new skills you will develop along the way, you start creating that future. So if you're good in, I'm thinking of an example, but like, for instance, I did in my past, I did a lot of business requirements, and we did audits of business processes that helped me to understand interdependencies. So I have this well-trained analytical skill to just check if things are complete. So I could say, let's keep on doing business requirements, but that's not what gives me satisfaction. What gives me satisfaction is to facilitate people to find out their future perspective. And I use my skill of the analytics skill to actually validate and give detailed feedback based on what their future perspective. Not to create a list of things to do, but actually to challenge them to go deeper. So I use the same skill in a total different context. And I think that counts for all of us. Prune away the structures, the formats, the programs, the templates, the context that we have learned them in, so that we can get an open space to explore what beautiful things we can do with our skills.
Yeah, absolutely. I think also we can get so distracted by what's going on around us, the things that other people are doing, that we are so tempted to become involved with because we don't want to miss out. We don't want to not be a part of what's going on, especially if it's a community scheme and you see growth and you see it benefiting people, communities, demographics, and you think, actually, I want to align myself with that. I want to be involved in that because I think it will benefit and it will bless and benefit whatever I'm doing or wherever I'm trying to start. And we can become just so consumed with what other people are doing, and we lose focus on us, on ourselves, and what we are pushing for. And I wrote today on Facebook, do what you can, don't do what you can't, and don't get focused on comparisons, because I think we can compare ourselves to others. We can look across the road and think, actually, that business is better. They do more or less the same, and why are they doing better than me? What's their focus? And we then drop what we're doing and we start to bring over their values, their mission statement, their ideas, their business plan. We start to dilute why we started the business or started the venture or started the community interest products, whatever it might be, and we start to mold ourselves and we start to fashion ourselves just like them, and we lose our identity, and then we lose purpose and we lose power. And I think we are
Yeah,
coming into this time of, especially coming out of what we've gone through as a world, that turbulent period that we've all gone through, that chaos that we've all experienced. And it will be so easy to do what everyone else is doing. It'd be so easy to copy or replicate another, whether it's a business, whether it's a charitable organization, whatever it might be. And actually, whatever's on our heart and whatever we are passionate about, and I know that passion isn't always going to earn a crust, and that is not necessarily always going to build a business or something, but actually it's a start, it's a platform. And we need to be focused, we need to be single-minded, we need to be really hell-bent on going after what we feel is the thing that we are called to do. And pioneering is like that. Pioneering can be very lonely, can be isolating. You can be ostracized. You could be looked upon as a bit of a kook, a bit of a weirdo, and you're stepping out and you're doing something new, and you're breaking new ground, and you're going to be tested for that. You're going to be accused. You're going to be ridiculed. You're going to be mocked, and you're going to be written off. And lies are going to be told about you. It depends, especially if it's going to be impacting on a stratospheric level, that you're gonna face these things. And so pruning and cutting away the dead things and moving away from our past and letting go of the stuff in our past that we don't need to carry with us into this new season is so important, especially when you're pursuing things that you know to be right.
absolutely. And I think, and I experienced myself, also the thin line between those. Like there are parts of being a pioneer, and pioneering the future, that are predictable. Those are
Yeah,
mostly the things that are a necessity, that are part of it. Like the way you run your business on an administrative level, that's predictable. So
yeah,
things, use known practices, use examples, learn from others. But the unpredictable side, the side where you are feel that you have to pioneer something, it's quite actually it's so silly, but I step in it myself over and over, and probably you do the same, Grant. And that's actually that. I know I'm called to pioneer something, but still I'm looking for people that are doing the same thing. And actually, I want them to tell me that I'm doing the right thing and I'm doing well. That is so ridiculous, but it is maybe even a daily thought. I'm called to pioneer something. If I know what I need to pioneer, then I'm the first one to cut some new ground, to go somewhere no one has gone before. So there is no mentor out there who could help me. There are good coaches, but there is no mentor out there who could tell me, like, oh, this is the format, this is the blueprint. No, there is none. Like blueprints, formats, programs, structures, they're all there to sustain something and by making it predictable. But the future is non predictable, but you can create it.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
if you know who you want to become, like that's not an easy question to answer, but if you know who you want to become and you know who you want to travel with and you know what you want to learn, then it's a good start to start going there and just use your passion, use your drive, move forward and acquire the skills along the way. And it's something that is an inside job more than an outside job. So if the outside world can't conform it, it needs to come from the inside. So your inner voice, like that strong sense of belief and faith and what you have seen with your mind's eye, that's what you should follow. And then it will be an overflow. And there will be people around us that start to encourage us, not because they see we're doing the right thing based on their eyes, but they just start believing in it as well.
Yeah. Yeah, it's so important not to start something just because of affirmation. And I think because we are human beings that thrive off praise. I mean, you think back to when you were a child and your parents used to praise you. You felt like you were on top of the mountain, on top of the world. That praise, that affirmation that came because you did something right, can carry into our adulthood. And if we're not careful, we could only start something if we get the affirmation from those around us. And that's the wrong motivation. As you say, look, you use the word future. The future hasn't been written. And if we're pioneering something, we're true pioneers, then we're not replicating something or copying something that's gone before.
Yeah.
And yeah, you say, get the right people around you, get the right circle of influence around you, the right people that are going to celebrate you, that are going to lift you up, that are going to be there for you when you fall on your knees and you scuff your knees and your hands are all bloody because you've fallen over. They're going to pick you up and celebrate you, but they're not going to go on and do it for you. They're going to champion you and they're going to support you. And that is vital, that when you are pushing and pioneering, you are going to get those people around you that are going to fall away. They're going to drop off because of fear, because of they don't particularly want to go to that place where it's new, where it's different and it's not done before, because they don't like change. And that can be quite upsetting. It can be quite hard, because what you thought you were starting, what you thought you were going after, was the right thing, and by people dropping off can make you question the very thing that you started out. And quite often, if people do fall away, if people do say, no, I can't turn up to it anymore, oh, I'm busy now and I don't want to be a part of that, or something else has come along, it'd be quite easy to put the brakes on and not run with the thing that you feel passionate about, just because of people have been vocal or people have dropped away. And actually, that's a sign that you should be pushing on. It's a sign that you are doing the right thing. It's a sign that you are a pioneer, when especially friends that you thought were going to support you fall away, because
Yeah.
you are going into the new ground. You are exploring, you are pushing boundaries, and you're going somewhere into the future that no one has been there before.
We've mentioned it before. Like, it's not just the formats or structures that are part of the old. It could easily be relationships, connections, and that is a really painful process.
Yeah.
Like, we tend to say the next season includes a new tribe, a new group of peers that not telling you the answers, but want to go similar direction, want to gain similar insights. You'll find them, but it also includes that you have to leave people behind, which in a relationship That's why we communicate. Like today, I gave an example. If you give me a week, cancel some of my work for a week and give me a book, then at the end of the book, I probably start pioneering the next step. And I have to communicate over that week with my wife, because my experience is that that little leap I take already creates disconnect with relationships that don't have that revelation yet. And we all
Yeah,
deserve, I posted it this week, we all have to live from our own revelation. You cannot live based on the revelation of someone else.
exactly.
That is, but we all tend to do it out of conformity, out of support, maybe even out of fear, or most cases, external pressure, or even religion. We tend to walk in someone else's revelation, which means there is one person leading us, have seen the light, and the rest of it hasn't.
Yeah,
That is one way so stupid, but look at all world events around us. It's happening over and over and over again. We, as human people, tend not to learn, but we need our own revelation. We need to see we need to get hold of the vision ourselves, which means that your vision, Grant, and my vision will be seen from a different angle, so we have a different perspective. So you pioneer your part, I pioneer my part. We trust that that it ends up in the same big result. So we're not trying to convince each other. We try to celebrate each other for the courage and the bravery we have. So I need your input, Grant, like frequently, just to hear me out and celebrate me or cheer me on. But I don't need you to understand what I'm doing, because I don't understand yet. Like pioneering is like first you start to act, then you start to sense, and then one day you understand what you have been doing. That's called learning, by the way. And learning is not, I need to understand what we're going to do. No, we're going to do something and we don't know yet why. And we trust that we understand at the end. That's a total different perspective than the predictable stuff, because then we have the knowledge, we have the order, and we have just follow the process. So
um, yeah.
yeah,
Sorry.
go on.
No, I was going to say to pioneer, you need to. You touched on. You mentioned it there. You touched on that learning, and to pioneer, you need to continually grow and develop yourself and develop the learning and grow and build in and apply the things that you can pick up quite easily through reading books or to speaking to others, to hearing what others have said that have gone to break ground or pioneered before you. And I think if you're open to that, if you are someone that goes after personal development and growth, and developing your leadership skills, developing your attributes, your talents, that is vital for anyone that's pushing new ground, for anyone who wants to seek revelation. Because unless you're feeding yourself, unless you're eating and consuming what's out there, knowledge, wisdom, you're gonna fall away from the first hurdle when you start to step out. And I think if you look at those that have pioneered, they are men and women who have read and learned and spoken and tried and failed and got up and gone again, and but are hungry, so hungry for more, so hungry to establish themselves, so hungry to glean all they can from those that have gone before them, those around them. Knowledge is power, and it's vitally important for those that are pushing out from this new era, this new season we're all walking into. The things that we're starting is to grow, eat, feed, delve into books, and that revelation will come. That's the thing that you've been seeking will come. The very thing that you and no one else can do will appear.
Yeah, and just to make it, I nearly said the word tangible, because I know it sounds, what we all talk about is a bit unstructured, untangible. Um, But just to give an example, to like that learning, that revelation and learning are very close to each other, like you said.
Yeah.
And I would say, like, every time I learn something, it feels like a little piece of this bigger revelation. And it feels like I have a whole set of puzzle pieces, but sometimes I still don't know, like, what the big picture of the puzzle is going to look like. Like, how many pieces by how many pieces? I have no clue, but I see those pieces. So what I do is when I read something, and like reading is one thing, listening is another thing, seeing is another thing. Just go into nature, go into the mountains,
Yeah.
and different things start to connect in your brain. So our brain are unique. There's no artificial intelligence that can ever compete with this.
Yep.
And and one of the things that I experienced over the last years is that I read something clicks in my mind. I make a note of what I've learned or discovered by reading it, make a note, put the book or the document and the page next to it, and then a while back, it finally starts to fit in another piece of the puzzle. And then I go back to my notes and think, okay, let's go back to that page on the book and find out that if my notes are complete. Did I miss something? Is there a little bit of context? Go back to the book. I read a line on the page. It's nothing compared to what I wrote down and learned,
Yep.
which was disrupting or confusing at first. But then I thought, no, I'm not copying what the author of the book said, but by reading this book, the external inspiration of the words, the internal motivation started to reveal something new to me.
Mm.
So it was like fuel to explore something new, which
Yep.
means that my notes, what I've learned from the book, or for listening to a podcast, is maybe not even set. And first I was thinking like, am I fooling myself? But then I started to understand, no, that's how revelation works.
Mm.
I fuel myself, I bring myself in the opportunity, and then 1 + 1 is more than 10. It's maybe a bit of a nerdy joke for the binary people under us, but okay. So I think, just to bring it to closure, I think what you said is valuable. Like, prune, be brave, trust that you can cut a little bit deeper, to let go and focus. And then after the end, where we said, like, learning is a key. Keep on reading, listening, watching, seeing. So is there anything else that I forgot in this, like, 13 seconds summary?
Well, I would just add to that, it's a process. And as I spoke yesterday, I was on another broadcast yesterday with two good friends, that the thing that we are going through is a process. And part of that process is pruning. Part of that process is learning. Part of that process is failing. And we don't want to rush that process. We've got to allow it to take shape the way it has to and play out the way it has to. And we can't force it. So it's process, and allow that process to unfold at its pace, and don't try and manipulate it.
Yeah. Or journey.
Or journey.
For those who think, oh, it's a process, where can I find the process? No, then I would say it's a journey, and just get on the ride. And we all have our own roller coaster, because we are pioneering the future,
Yeah, absolutely.
creating it. So for those who are more interested in this kind of stuff and want to talk with us more on a personal level, or specific case or question, just reach out, connect with us. General questions, just ask them. But if you have a personal question, just reach out and use our availability as a peer for you to reflect on those things. And if
Yeah.
you really want to go deeper in it, the invitation is coming by on the screen. There will be a new challenge, Own Your Future, which will be about how do I learn to lead from a future mindset, which is like a key element, foundational in owning your own future. Just sign up, go to the website, thefuturechallenge.com. The challenge starts the 20th. There will be other events prior to that, but it starts September 20th. So just check out the site, thefuturechallenge.com, if you want to own your future. Next week, in the next episode, I'll talk with Mark Appleyard, and we'll have a dialogue, conversation about the priest and the futurist. So, Grant, looking forward to touch base in a couple of weeks.
Yeah, likewise, mate.
Next
Likewise. It's been
episode.
good.
And in the meantime, let's get under each other's skin to celebrate each other's progress in this process.
Absolutely. Go Pioneer.
Go Pioneer. Bye-bye for now.